Oh, can I record this?
Sure.
Recording.
Welcome, everyone. We're just going to wait a couple of minutes so everyone can come in. There are a lot of you. I hope you can't hear my dog whining. Maybe. Piglet, the pink pup, is actually sleeping in Melissa's lap. He had a big day today.
Yeah, he had a day of recovery today. He was, poor little guy.
He's jet setting. Life
Telling
of
you.
the celebrity.
And last night, he literally could not settle himself down. He was so overstimulated and excited about the event that he had to be removed in the middle. Warren had to take him out to see if, like, we didn't even know if he had to go pee. He was barking and all excited. And normally for Piglet, he goes to these kinds of things and he has a little routine and he'll relax, comes and does his tricks, and then he goes back to sleep. And last night he was like, there's too many people in here. I have to stay awake for this whole thing. he wanted to do his tricks, so he got on the stage. It was a little stage just like a foot off the ground. And he had a little stage and he turned so he was facing, because he can tell where people are because he can smell them, and he turned around and sat and looked like he was posing that everyone should take his picture, which was extremely adorable. Extreme.
Adorable. All right, I'm just going to wait one more minute because people are still coming in the doors. Okay, that's long enough. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming. Let's get started. I'd like to welcome you to our author talk this evening on behalf of the Ridgefield Library. My name is Lucy Handley, and I'm the Adult Program Coordinator here at the library. First, I'd like to thank our co-sponsor, Books on the Common. Thank you, Ellen and Darwin. Here on the right. Am I right? Thank you so much. Well, now it gives me great pleasure to introduce two people. First, Melissa Shapiro, who is the author of the book Piglet. I'm not going to give all of her biographical information because it's a good story and I want her to tell it. She is a veterinarian who agreed to foster Piglet, and the story went on from there. Piglet was a very healthy, fine, deaf, tiny pink puppy. And Dan Schachner is here. He's a friend of Melissa's. He's here to get in conversation with her about dogs and Piglet. He is famous as being the referee of the Animal Planet's Puppy Bowl, as well as being a great advocate for dogs. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. And don't forget, super fan of Piglet. That's
yes,
#1 on the resume.
Big fan. So everyone, if you have questions or comments, please type them in the chat box, the Q&A box, I mean, and we'll read them out and answer them. Thank you. So welcome, Dan and Melissa.
Hi, everybody. So Melissa and I, we've gone back a few years. We've met at some fundraisers. I think we met at PetCon a couple of years back. I'd already heard about Piglet, so I was thrilled to meet him. For me, it was like meeting a celebrity at the time. And it was incredibly thrilling. There he is. Hey, guys, say hi to Piglet. What's up, buddy?
There he is. He's sleeping. So
send him your love. He's had a busy, Melissa was explaining his whole press tour and how exhausting it is for both the family and for him. As I've been reading Piglet, and I recommend everybody go out and get your copy if you haven't already. It's just amazing the growth of, well, Piglet physically, but more important, the growth of his popularity over the last, I would say, 3 years is really remarkable. And so I want to start with one thing, Melissa. I'm going to kick it off, and then I'm going to let Melissa and Piglet run the show, but I'm going to start and kick you off with this. On Tuesday, February 28th of 2017, you got an email, Melissa, saying, "Good morning. We have this precious little fellow who came up from a hoarding situation. He has microphthalmia, hope I said that right, and is not visual. The dachshund mixes that come to us from the same place are dappled, and mom is dappled as well, so that is likely how he came about. He is 1 pound now at 6 weeks old, and he will be a special replacement. Know anyone who might be a good fit for him. That email changed your life.
I know. That email, I looked at that email and I don't even know if it's described well enough in that book, because I just felt this gigantic like pit in my stomach, and I just thought, oh no. Not because I felt so bad for the dog, because I figured, one way or another we'd take care of the dog, but for me, because I was about to get sucked into this, because it's very hard for me to say no to something so compelling, like helping a dog who is 1 pound, deaf and blind, from a good friend of mine, Gloria Andrews. She's a veterinarian in Georgia, who sent that note. We had connected because we adopted a dog from her years before, and we kept in touch through various adoption events up here, and where she would bring dogs up from Georgia for adoption events, similar to the one that I picked, that we got Gina from, and then that we picked Piglet up from. So when I got that email, it was like, oh no. And I really knew that we didn't want another dog, but I did feel very, very responsible for saying we would foster Piglet, who was Bart at the time.
Bart, right. And what a lot of people maybe don't realize is that you weren't sure if you were going to keep Piglet from day one. It was simply a foster situation to start with. In fact, other people expressed interest in adopting Piglet, right?
Oh yeah, there were people who definitely wanted Piglet. There were quite a few. And initially, I had actually posted him on rescue groups Facebook pages, and there were a lot of people wanted him. So there were quite a few applications. And then,
but I think it took, if correct my math, but I think just 2 or 3 months, and then you were sure. So that's not really 2 months. Okay. Yeah. And then you were sure. That wasn't too long, really.
No, but it felt very long, because it was really very difficult to have him, first because he was screaming, and this is all in the story, and it's been told on our Facebook and Instagram pages. Yeah. This is not a secret. It's in the book, but I think we describe it maybe a little bit in more depth in the book, because we had a longer place to put it versus a little caption on Facebook. But he was really difficult. It took a lot of time and energy. We really didn't think that we could do it. We really didn't want another dog. Right. And then it became difficult, because we really felt very responsible for him as he started to settle in. And people who foster dogs know that, you bring them in, they decompress, they start to settle in, and you start to have this horrible guilty thing going on, because how are you going to uproot them again when they think they actually are home? Yeah. And now you're going to take them and move them again. And we have fostered other dogs, and it was, we felt that, and we did it. I had some birds also that I sent off to another home, and they thought I was their mom. And it's really a strange feeling, and anyone who's fostered any kind of animal, or maybe even a child, knows that feeling. But once you do it, you're able to do it again. And I really thought that I was going to be able to give this dog away. And in the end, it just was like this race. Applications, no, yes, no, and back and forth. And then I finally folded, and that was it. But 2 months, that was all it took.
And by then, Piglet was already becoming a member of the family. Not only, I remember one passage you talking about the basics with him, crate training and tap signals and all the things you're going to have to do for a dog that's both visually and ear and hearing impaired. But what was, during those first 2 months, besides the screaming, the most challenging part about getting Piglet used to home?
Well, really, it was the screaming, because there was nothing worse than watching a dog run around in circles screaming and being frantic. So that was the initial problem. And so connecting with him, the connection with him needed to happen, and really connecting with him was not very difficult at all. And it did not take very long for him to realize that we were going to be there for him, and he was going to get fed when he needed to be fed, and he was going to have all the comforts that he needed, and a structure that he craved like any other dog, and to be communicated with, of course, and to be able to communicate back without having to be hysterical. So we have other dogs here. They helped. We put in a lot of time and energy, and ultimately you know, it happened. So, you know, the difficult part was just in that very, very beginning phase where we really had to reach him and let him know that he didn't have to worry so much. And then it was gradual, though. He still would go into these screaming things where he'd run around, but it diminished over a few weeks into the 2 months. And by the time he stayed, that, you know, by the time I decided that we were keeping him, he really at that point was much better. It's not that it wasn't completely resolved, but it was we could see the light at that point.
Right. And how quickly did he take to the tap signals? Because I mean,
Oh,
you talk about how the food motivation was already there.
yeah,
right?
yeah. His you know, his name is Piglet, and we do disgrace pigs by calling people who eat too much a pig. But he's very piggy. He likes to eat, and it was very easy to teach him. So right away, and part of this was I did want him to be comfortable wherever he went, and he needed to be settled, and teaching him tap signals, teaching him not to sleep in bed. Well, that lasted 2 days, and then he came in bed, because you can't have a dog like this sleeping on the floor in a dog bed. It doesn't work. Anyway, oh no, Mim, who is the co-writer of this book, can't find the Zoom link. What do we do? I'm not sure what we do. But anyways, so Piglet, now I lost my thought
The
here.
tap signals we were talking about.
Oh yeah, so the tap signals. So with the tap signals, he learned really quickly, and I wanted him to know what he needed to know to go off to the next home.
Right.
But it was a lot of fun because I like to teach my dogs all of these tricks, and they do them together, and he should join them. And the other foster dogs that we had also did sit on the mat. They all sat together. They all came one at a time. And so he was going to do that also. And once he learned that the tap meant something, using food to get him to sit first, then it was very easy, very smooth sailing from there. He was very receptive to the next round of things that he should learn. Namely, I taught him to wait, and I would stand in front of him, and he would sit still for a few seconds, and I would reward him with a little treat. And I had a signal to tell him that was what I wanted, which is a little tap on his chest. Instead of clicking for clicker training, he got a little tap. And he really caught on to the whole thing. So he now knows, he has a whole repertoire of sit, wait, down, go pee. He knows go to your bed. He knows to shake for his paw. And then he also knows to wait for food. He knows come, we can blow to him. He knows let's go. And there's a lot of unspoken or untapped things that we communicate also, because he's very attentive, and he's very connected. So
and he's pretty much been that way since from the day he got comfortable in your home and you felt like, okay, has he been that way? Has he been connected to you? I know Warren is the favorite, but
well, Warren's the favorite dad.
Oh, right. Okay, you're the favorite mom.
Yeah, well, Warren is the favorite dad, and he loves Warren. So, but he loves his different people in different ways. So he loves Monica, who is the vet tech that he met on the first day when I picked him up, and he loves her. I say when he sees her, he doesn't see her, of course, but he sees with his nose. When he finds her, he goes completely crazy, and he loves her to pieces. And then there are a few of the other girls at the vet hospital, some of the vet techs that he loves. But he loves his favorite dad, and then he loves me because I do all of these things with him. Okay. He comes with me to work. He comes in the car. He doesn't miss a thing. So I could be holding him, and if Warren comes in, he has to get off my lap, and he has to go to Warren. He literally leaps out of my arms to get to his favorite dad. So people want to know, how many dads does he have? He has one. He is his favorite. That's it.
Got it.
A very simple explanation. But when I have him and he goes, he has to leave me to go to Warren, which is really hilarious. But if Warren's holding him, and he's very attentive, and he has to know everything that's going around. So if I am going to leave the house and he's sitting with Warren, he needs to leave Warren to come with me to leave the house, because he doesn't want to be left, even though he loves his dad. If I'm going somewhere, he's coming. And that's how attentive he is to all of us in different ways.
And we know Piggy loves his humans, his favorite mom and dad. How does he feel about his doggy siblings? Because you devote a good amount of time in the book to how your dog's adapted to,
Yes, they
very
did.
special house guest, I think is what you called him.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, Susie was the most mature in the approach.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. How did it all go with your pack?
Well, Susie, who we lost in April, unfortunately, she has welcomed all the dogs in a very kind and gentle way. So when Piglet came, all the dogs got along really well. There were 6 dogs here. I could hold a steak in my hand and have 6 noses around my hand, and there would be no aggression. I'm not kidding. It's very unusual. So when Piglet came, this is the kind of group he walked into. And they were all very, very sweet. They weren't all crazy about having a new dog in the house. Evie in particular and Gina, they went and stayed on the couch. They didn't want anything to do with him. Annie went on her bed. But Zoe, Susie, Dean was very interested and then, of course, lost interest right away. So Susie and Zoe were the ones that really took a big part in the very beginning. Susie would lay with him. We'd say, Susie, come, we need you, please babysit him. We can't take it anymore because he's running around crying and carrying on. And she would come in the kitchen and lay in a little dog bed, and he would lay next to her. And I have all these cute pictures and videos, and they really happened. We didn't set it up. He would go and put his little head on her back, and she was very, very comforting to him, and she meant to be because she didn't have to be. And she also really loved him, and she got to love him very quickly. She would play with him. He would seek her out, and she would seek him out also. And the same with Zoe, who plays really rough with him. She's not an affectionate, loving dog towards the other dogs like Susie was. Susie would lay with Dean and Annie on the couch all day long, and they really loved each other. It was a nice little group. So Susie was like that. Zoe's much crazier, playing and not interested in really loving him. But she loves to play with him, and she's very sweet to him. So she adapted. She goes and taps him when he's playing with her so that he knows where she is, and also to engage him rather than like other dogs play with a dog who isn't blind, jumping at their face. None of the other dogs do that at all. They all realize very quickly that he's not a dog that you can play with like that because he really can't see. And then there was a body language issue where he would bother them and they might growl or grumble at him, and he couldn't hear them. So they had to adapt and understand that he was not going to respond like a regular dog that they were used to. And they actually have been I don't like to use the word tolerance when we're talking about disabilities, but they have been very tolerant of his just physical contact with them, that sort of thing where he bumps into them and they just back off for the most part. If Annie might do sort of this lungy grumble thing at him, she doesn't even come near him. This is what she does to everybody. So in any case, they all adapted to him, and they all, when they play, they know how to play with him. They played more when he was younger. He actually likes to play with me and Warren more now than with the other dogs, but whatever. But
that, of course, can be exhausting.
Yeah, they are an amazing group, and they took a lot of the slack. They took up a lot of the extra energy that he needed, right, especially when he was a baby.
They absorbed that extra energy that was so important. And initially you didn't have the stroller for him, so your walks was he just carried on your walks initially, and then when the stroller came, the walks sped up?
No, the walks have evolved because initially the walks didn't include him because he couldn't go.
Okay.
He was too small and too young in the vaccines. But then when I started taking him, I had 7 dogs, and I took 2 to 3 walks so that he could go with Susie. Like I might have taken 2 and 4 dogs on 2 different walks, and then I would come back and do the Piglet walk. And Piglet would go with Susie or Zoe, one of the little dogs, and he would walk. He was pretty good at walking down the street. And then when we came home, he actually learned our street, so he would lead everyone back home. But then over time, he stopped enjoying the walks. And I also had to get a stroller because I couldn't carry him around When I was traveling or doing anything with him, it was too much to hold him in a bag. So I got a stroller. That story's in the book. I'm not telling the whole story. And I had a little basket under the stroller. So he actually enjoys the stroller. He likes to sit in there. He looks straight out. He knows I guess the breeze is coming in his face as we're going in a direction. And he really enjoys that. So he can walk, and he does like to walk in certain places, like at Princeton or in the city. But when I go down our street here, he stops at every blade of grass. He wants to sniff it. He wants to pee on it. And the walk turns into a stand.
Yeah.
So I let him do it a little bit. He'll come out a little bit, and then he's happy to go back in the stroller. So we kind of mix and match with him. We have to be very flexible. That's a piglet mindset. That's what we do. But so my walks then turned into a stroller on 2 walks, and maybe 3 and 3 or 4 and 2 dogs. And now they turned into 5 dogs in a stroller, because I don't need to take, Susie got so old that she had to go on a shorter walk. And so now I take all of them a couple of miles, he goes in the stroller, and it works really well.
I just want to remind everybody, if you're tuning in, we have some people still arriving. Welcome, everyone. We're here with Piglet, of course, and her star mom, Melissa, who, of course, has written the Piglet book, which is a long-awaited doggy biography of not just Piglet, but of his family. Questions are coming in, so if you have them, please put them in the chat. One of the questions, Melissa, I want to share with you is from Tanya, who says that dachshunds and doxy mixes are notorious for doing what they want when they want. Given that, can you give me some tips on how you've been so successful with your pack training?
Oh, well, this is a dachshund mix, and he certainly has a mind of his own, but overall, I just find that being really consistent, and even with our kids, I was thinking about this. You have to make the time to spend with them, redirect them, let them be stimulated and engaged. Otherwise, and it doesn't mean just taking a walk. They have to run, they have to exercise, they have to do their walk, and then they have to have some sort of other intellectual stimulation, I think. And dog training, which I like, teaching. Really, I think if you find things to do with the dog, then they're going to be more engaged, and they're going to be less demanding. And I've taken classes with the dogs for basic dog manners, sit, stay, and come, all of those. But then there are tricks classes that you can take the dogs to. There's agility and other activities that you can do with your dog that are really fun, and you can do them on your own, or you can go in a class with other people. I think it's really fun. So if you've got a dog that's giving you trouble because they need a job, then go find them a job, and they might be a little less demanding that way. Yeah, that's what I think.
Those are great tips. Again, guys, if you have questions, put them in the chat. Oh, here's one more that just came up on that topic. So I'm going to stick with it. As a vet, did you already have the knowledge and skill, or did you have to do some research and learn new stuff with Piglet?
Well, I don't think it had anything to do with being a vet, teaching the dog. I mean, I have an interest in dogs. I've had dogs my whole life, and I've taken an enormous number of dog classes. So I already knew the basics of dog training and, clicker training and all of that, positive reinforcement, but I had never had a deaf-blind dog. And I do have friends around the country who have rescue groups, and some are dog trainers that helped me. I called them. They're very nice, really good resources, and they gave me some pointers, which I actually was very happy to have, and helped me to realize that I really did know what I was doing when I got started with him. But one of the things that I would like to say about that is that a lot of people are very interested in rescuing dogs with disabilities as a result of learning about Piglet and some of the other Instagram and Facebook famous dogs and other pets. And I think that one of the things that I think is lacking in vet medicine is that there is a lack of support by some vets, not all, in helping people. What are you going to do? Like, if I went to a vet with this dog, they would say, "Are you nuts?" A lot of people. And some would say, "Hey, I have a client who has a deaf and blind dog that might be able to give you some pointers because they're experienced now. I take care of a rescue group who focuses on dogs like this, whether it's a deaf and blind dog or a deaf or a blind dog, or a dog who needs wheels, who's paralyzed. A lot of the dachshunds end up with back problems, and then they need to have their bladders and bowels expressed. And people get into these situations where it seems so hopeless. How are they going to treat them? Even a diabetic dog. Diabetic dogs need extra care. They have to be given injections twice a day. They have to have a special diet. They have to have special monitoring. And when a vet or anybody can give you, put people in touch with good resources, either rescue groups or clients who have these animals already and are already experienced, that makes it much easier for the person who's doing this new. So for me, yes, I do have a lot of experience because I'm a vet, and I have a lot of resources because I'm a vet, but those resources are available to people who aren't a vet. And I think that's really important, because I know on our page, a lot of people have adopted dogs who are deaf or blind, or both, and they contact me by email. And while I'm not available to do ongoing consulting with somebody, I try to give really good pointers. I have a website, pigletmindset.org, where there are documents that I've written about caring for special needs and disabled pets. And then I have resources that I hand over and say, you know what, here's someone who can help you. Here's a rescue group. Maybe there were people that had to rehome their dogs that were deaf and blind. And I put them in touch with rescue groups who were willing to help them, take them in, maybe they fostered and then they found a new placement. And so all of this is available, and it has to be known that it's available. So I actually have presentations that I give to veterinarians to teach them about what's available and what you might do to help people who are either adopting or some of the animals become disabled as they get older or injured or have illnesses that cause deaf and blindness or other disabilities.
Well, that's why we're so appreciative. I mean, the power of social media and what it's done for Piglet. That Dodo video was the sort of first viral breakthrough. And if you guys haven't seen that first Dodo video, it's incredible. And it really, I think that may have been how I first got to know Piglet, but
it went pretty wild. Yeah,
I think it struck a chord with so many people in this world, and allowed you to raise that exposure to the point where now you're using your platform not just for Piglet and your pack and your family, but also the Piglet mindset, which I know we want to talk about, but we're also getting questions here as well. So before we move onto Piglet mindset, do you mind if I just ask you 2 more questions from our chat? All right. So Melissa, this is a question from Thor, the Miracle Dog's mom.
Oh, I love Thor. I mean, I love Thor's mom.
another great follow. Yeah. Do you think, it's a great question, do you think that special needs dogs bark more out of insecurity?
I don't know. I don't know how. I don't know what Thor did.
Barking in the dog.
I don't know how Thor was, and he had a completely different disability than Piglet.
Right.
Piglet barks because Piglet wants to communicate, and he can't see and hear. I have inadvertently encouraged him to bark when he wants to play with us. That is my fault. It didn't have to happen. But when I sit down to eat, this is a terrible thing that he does, is he then wants me to play with him, and he sits there and he barks at me.
Got it.
He also, this is particular to this dog, who I'm pointing because he's down here on my lap, but he does not know to go to the door to go out because we carry him down, because he's so tiny that he doesn't walk down the stairs.
Right.
So if we had no stairs to go out our back door, he probably would know, because I would have him at the door, giving him a signal to go out the door and to go and pee. So since he doesn't have that, that isn't part of his way of communicating. My dogs go to the door if they have to go, they run back and forth, they want to go out, but he doesn't know that. So what is his outlet then, is to bark at us. So that's a problem with this dog. Your dog Thor had mobility issues. So, for him to communicate, he was alone, he wanted you to come to him or whatever, he might have, found barking as a way to get your attention. So I suppose it is because they're disabled and they can't do something in a way that other dogs can. But I don't know that they're barking because they're insecure and disabled. I think it's a function of how they're going to communicate because they are disabled.
That's great. And Leigh agrees. It's a great point. One question from Liz Turpin. What do you think that can be done, Melissa, to stop irresponsible breeders from breeding double merles? Now, can you just back up and
I'll say what it is.
Double dap. Yeah. So it's just for some of us who are unfamiliar with it.
Okay. So merle or dapple or harlequin is a marbling type of color pattern that you see in certain breeds and breed mixes of dogs. Mm-hmm. So if you think of those little Australian shepherds that have all that cool coloring all mixed around, that is merle. And dachshunds are dapple. It's the same kind of color pattern, this marbling. It can be red or blue, and so it's gray, black, and white, or it's red, the darker red, the lighter red and white. And Harlequin Danes have that. It's been bred into bulldogs, and so you can see that in bulldogs, chihuahuas, other breeds that it's come into because of outcrossing. Anyway, when the parents are both dapple or merle coloring and they breed together, there's a 25% chance that each puppy will have the dominant dapple or merle gene. That's called double dapple. There are two. So double dapple, double merle. They're born with mostly white coat, if not all white coat, and that is linked. The double dapple gene combination is linked to ear and eye defects that they're born with, congenital. So they're born with the potential to be quite disabled, but some aren't. Some can see and hear. They might have some defects in their eyes that don't prevent them from seeing. Gina, who's back there, which you can see, she is a double merle Aussie Border Collie mix. She's deaf in 1 year only, so she can hear, but she can't place sound. It's very confusing to her. So when we call to her, if she's not facing us, she actually runs in the opposite direction. It's very dangerous because if she's outside where there's a road, she's going to run into the road, even though she can hear us. So that is the effect on her. She has some vision deficits that are very, very mild. She can see, but she has some peripheral deficits. Piglet is deaf and blind. His brother, LT, is deaf, but he can see. Mm-hmm. And then there was a sister in that litter, so there were 3 out of 4 affected. She's deaf, but she's got some pretty significant vision deficits. And then in that litter also a piglet, there was 1 normal dog, a brown and white dog, and he can see and hear, and he's not double dapple. So how to prevent double dapple breeding is the question of the day, as is how to stop people from breeding dogs altogether down in the South, where they're making more and more dogs because they don't spay and neuter. So spaying and neuter is one way to do it. And then certainly there are breeders that do this intentionally by not buying dogs from those breeders. Yep. And discouraging them from doing it, trying to educate them. We try to prevent this kind of breeding. There are a lot of rescue groups. There are Facebook groups that for double dapple dachshunds. There are rescues all over trying to educate and get breeders to stop. In the meantime, they take these dogs because they're going to be dumped, or they euthanize them, and they all can have a very nice quality of life, most of them, and they don't want to see them abused or killed. So it's a trade-off, because by taking these dogs from the breeders, they're not discouraged from doing it again in the right way. But a lot of them do eventually listen. Some, it's accidental. People have 2 dapple colored dogs. They have no idea this can happen. They do it. They're devastated. They keep the puppies. They had them they spay the parents. And then there's hoarding situations like Piglet. We need to prevent hoarding situations by spaying and neutering dogs. These dogs did not have to have all these babies. These people did not need to be evicted from their apartment for having 30 dogs there and filth. So it's just an ongoing thing. There are animal welfare organizations, the Humane Society, there are local organizations, dog rescues. We're all doing what we can. And on Piglet's page, I try to educate about it and talk about Piglet without glorifying Piglet being a deaf, blind, white, double dapple dachshund Chihuahua mix, because I don't want anyone to do this intentionally.
Right.
So there is a trade-off, and I've been accused of causing more dogs like Piglet to be born. And that was years ago, and it didn't feel very good, and it was unfair because, of course, I'm not there glorifying Piglet. We talk about it all the time, how difficult it is for Piglet. While he's positive and he faces his challenges, he probably would rather be able to see and hear. And it would be a whole lot easier life for him, although we were not sure that he would be happier, because at this point, he is one of the happiest dogs we know. So it's a balance when we talk about him.
There's no question that that dog is happy, and he is where he belongs. I hadn't heard that criticism, actually. That
it doesn't happen too often.
And I think the reason why we're not tuned to that criticism is because everything you talk about, you're coupling it with animal rescue. You're coupling everything you put out there for. There's Piggy. Everyone say hi.
You want to say? I wanted him to say hi because you're just looking at me, and he looks pretty bad right now. He's very tired.
He looks like he's had a very long press tour, and he could probably use a day at the spa.
His tongue is sticking out of his mouth. He's pretty cute. All right, he's going back down. He's just he's distracted.
Hey, Piglet. As long as you give us occasional looks into Piglet, we'll be okay. We won't ask for too much. We know he's tuckered out. Melissa, some questions that are coming in are specifically about training disabled dogs, and I wanted to share one with you from Christine, who says she has a 12-year-old 4-pound blind toy poodle. Which command could I begin with? She has no teeth, and do you have any soft treat recommendations? Okay, so two questions there, but let's start with what command to begin with if you've never done it before and you happen to have a blind or visually impaired dog.
If you just got the dog and you're just starting, if the dog can hear, you can speak to the dog, and you can use treats to lure the dog into whatever you want the dog to do. So if you want to teach sit, you hold the food over the nose, the dog puts the head up, butt goes down, and you can, if the dog can hear but is blind, you can say, sit. For me, one of the things when you have old dogs that are blind is that some become blind acutely from cataracts, some more gradually, and there are other eye diseases that can cause acute blindness, glaucoma, others. And those dogs have to adjust. And one of the things that you need to do is to make their world a little bit smaller. Some adjust very quickly. They're pretty easygoing. They don't mind bumping and sort of figuring it out. And others, like these little tiny ones, there are the halos that you put there, that plastic ring that goes across in front of their face so that when they are walking around bumping into things, they don't get hurt. Piglet, when he came, he was able to walk around and very carefully map out where he was. He was just in tune with what he needed to do, and he enjoyed doing it, I think, to know where he was. So we don't use one of those halos with him because he doesn't need it. He's not looking to be a kamikaze in a place that he doesn't know.
Right.
So these old ones, just allowing them to acclimate to their environment, even if they've lived there, by using ground coverings, mats under a water dish, so that when they get to it, they know then the water's coming, using the halo, and then teaching basic. Most dogs, by the time they're 12, know to sit. And if they're blind and they've already known to sit, you speak to them. But if they become deaf and blind, then it becomes more of a problem. And sometimes you don't bother. But if you want to do something fun with them, and they're into it, you use food to teach them these tricks, and then you tap them. And so sit is the most natural thing for a dog to learn. That's where I would start. And what was the other question about treats that are soft? Because
this could apply actually to anybody who has an older dog, I think, senior dog, and maybe has soft teeth or losing teeth. You recommend, we're kind of going in a different direction here, but that's okay.
Yeah.
What food or what treats for older dogs?
Honestly, I use a bunch of different treats for my dogs, and I'm not going to promote any treats because there's so many, but I really do like Bocce's Bakery. I think that's how you say it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they do have I think we have these peanut butter softer treats, but really you go to the pet food store, find a variety of treats. There are some soft ones. Just give the dog some pieces of chicken or cheese. They don't have to get too fancy.
Yeah.
But you know, we use crunchy treats, and then, you know, our dogs all have teeth. But for the older ones, you have to adapt, and, you know, to even getting just some soft food, whatever you're feeding, you can use that as a treat. But I think like for Susie, she liked a little bit of chicken in the end, and a little peanut butter that doesn't have xylitol in it. These
Yeah.
kinds of things you can give the dogs also.
Got to watch out for the xylitol. Now,
Yeah.
Stephanie asks, any pointers on what to do if your dog is frightened of all dogs? Size, breed, nothing matters. Her rescue is afraid of all of them.
Okay, this is getting a little too far into dog training. So
Yeah.
I think you need a dog trainer is what
You
you
need a
need.
dog trainer. That's your answer. Got it.
But also, uh, I would speak, you know, if it's something that's progressing on, that's getting worse, then I would talk to to your vet, because there are anti-anxiety medications, and that can help, you know. I mean, my dogs don't see other dogs because they don't like them. They're afraid. And I just, you know, I don't go to dog parks with them. And when people come approaching us, I tell them they're not friendly, because they don't want to see your dog who they don't know, who's bounding to them, these gigantic golden retrievers and Bernese Mountain Dogs. My little dogs don't want to be friends with those dogs because they're too big,
Right.
and they scare them. So I accept that. Also, that's another way to look at this, is I just accept it, and I allow them to stay themselves.
Tanya wants to ask, how did the idea for the book actually get started? Was there one moment that made you go, all right, I'm going to write a book? Did you know it from day one? How did it come about?
You know how it came.
Yeah, I kind of know, but the world doesn't know.
Well, you know, we wanted a book because really Piglet's story is a story to be told. He has amazing messaging, which we'll get to Piglet Mindset, I hope.
Yeah, we'll get onto that right next.
Yeah, so, you know, Piglet really, Piglet has a very nice story, which was validated when the Dodo made a video about him right from the beginning. And that video that you were talking about had 13 million views very quickly. And then our pages grew, so I knew that people were interested in learning about Piglet. Piglet Mindset came about, which is an educational program that I collaborated with a teacher who was on Piglet's page, who wanted to use Piglet videos for her class to teach growth mindset. So growth mindset is something that Piglet is a great model for, because he faces his challenges in a positive way, uses what he has, and because he's a dog, doesn't worry about not being able to see and hear, of course, but he adapted, and he's a great growth mindset model for kids. So we had all of that, and then we had Piglet's inclusion pack, and we very, very fortunately got an article in People magazine, because when I first met Dan, I said, you know, I really want to write a book about Piglet, and Dan said, don't worry, the book will come.
It will.
And a couple of years later, the book came in the form of a book deal. Yep. So we didn't actually have to write the book first. We were summoned in some sense to write the book, which we knew that we wanted to write. And so just one step further answering the question, we knew we wanted to write a book, but we really didn't know, and I'm saying we because I am attached to Warren, my husband, but if we can say me and we weren't sure how the book would be written, and we also really weren't sure what would be included in the book. And thankfully, we got to work with Mim Eichler-Rivas, who doesn't have the Zoom link, so she's not on the call. She was going to be on the call tonight, but she was very helpful in really directing us to bring up and dig up lots of the past stories that really are relevant to our Piglet story. So that's how the book was written. It was written with somebody who was able to really structure it and help us include material that hopefully people are interested to read. And of course our editor is Leah, who had this bright idea that we should have a book. And then all the rest of the people, Megan, who's a publicist, and Maudie and Carlin, who are in marketing, and they all helped also along the way as the book was being written. So the book here, it's a very long book, and a lot of people actually had no idea that they were getting a full-length, gigantic adult book.
Yep.
So we also thought we would write a kid's book. So here we are writing this gigantic book.
That's a
And
follow-up question on the chat. Any
yeah,
plans for a children's book? People really want to know.
oh, the kids book is coming in the spring or summer, I'm not sure, but sometime in 2022. And it's going to be a picture book and about Piglet. It's a little story about Piglet. Hopefully it's going to be very cute, and hopefully everyone will enjoy that for the young kids. And I'm finding that actually we thought that this book would be an adult book that high school and middle school kids would enjoy reading. It's G-rated. There's nothing in here that your kids, even your 5-year-olds, could hear that would be problematic. But last night at the book event live, I got to meet parents with their kids, and also some people who have the book are sending me notes telling me that they're reading it to their younger kids. So they must be editing some pieces out that the kids might not relate to, but they are reading these books to younger kids also. So I think it's a very nice book that we came up with ultimately, and there's a lot of information, a lot of really fun stories in there, and of course a lot of Piglet and the other dogs.
I mean, the middle section has got, I know I got the green screen hard to see, but it's full color section here.
Yeah,
so you get a little bit of everything. So there's picture books in there. If you just want to look at some photos of Piglet, they're in there too, and some special ones too that we hadn't seen before. I'm looking at pictures of your family as well. But speaking of your family, this kind of ties into a question from Carla. Does Piglet know each of you due to your sense? In other words, can he smell each member of the family?
Yeah, of course. He knows his world by smelling. He can, the touch part. Yes, he likes to be touched. He can feel the ground coverings. He knows, when he's walking up a step, and he knows where the water dish is by however he gets there with his sense of touch. But mostly he's using his nose to scan his world. He knows what I'm sure when he's coming up the back steps, he's using scent, tracking in. When he gets to the stairs, yes, he's feeling them as they touch his chest when he's going up step to step. But he also knows when he gets to the top. He can smell where he is. He knows each person. He knows each dog. One of the questions kids ask, which I love, is how does he know who he's with? How does he know which dog is which? And he knows them because he knows their scent. And Piglet, this is in the book, Piglet has a catalog in his brain of probably every person he's met and every place he's been. So when he meets people that he knows, he knows them. And when he's playing with the dogs, he knows who he's with. He sometimes wants to play with one dog and not another. So if someone comes over to play with him, he will actually walk away from them and go find somebody else to play with. It's very mean. I tell him, be a nice boy. But even, and with Susie, she would come play with him, and he would play with her, and he didn't want to play with someone else, but then Zoe would come over and tap him, but right. He could smell where she is. And one of the things that I love to tell about is that when they're playing and they're face to face, it looks like he can see them because they're playing so closely. But the minute somebody moves away, and even if he's following us across the room, it looks like he's following us, like he can see us. The minute we move a foot out of the path, he keeps going. Wow. Because he is not seeing us at all, and it takes his nose a second to realize we went that way. And then he'll stop and he's like, where'd you go? And our other dogs will come and find him, especially Zoe taps him to get him to turn back around and come with the group. So that's how he knows everybody by their smell.
Somebody was asking about his tongue, and it makes me think about this question. Do you think maybe the tongue sticking out has anything to do with him trying to explore or learn about the world around him? Or is that just a genetic trait?
I think it's a Doxy thing and a Chihuahua thing. They put their tongues out of their mouth because that's what they all do. It doesn't seem to be helping him. He mostly does it when he's sleeping, although I think as he gets older, it's going to be out more and more when he's awake. It's out. It's out right now.
Can we see a little? Yeah. Can we see a peek of it? We've had a request to see.
Yeah, you can see it from the side. And here's a front view. Oh my God, you look so silly. He's shining with this light. I don't know what the deal is with the light.
He looks angelic.
Yeah, he's angelic. That's him.
Especially
I don't know. Look, he's so zonked. He literally cannot stay away right now.
And then somebody followed up with retention of knowing everyone
Yes,
you've met.
he
And the
has
answer is
he has
yes,
good
he has it.
retention.
Yeah.
He knows, and people ask about that too all the time. And one of the things that he has retention of where he's been.
Hmm.
He's got this, like, we take him places that he hadn't been in a year. We visited our friends here and there. He's been to hotels and to Princeton University, where he went when he was a little baby, and then he went a few times. He actually knows the campus. He has not been there in a long time because my daughter wasn't there junior year or senior year because of she was abroad, and then she was at COVID in our house. But
Right.
he's going to be going back there later this month because she's going to be doing one more year of master's degree there. And when he goes there, I have no doubt he's going to be delighted, happy, excited, and he's going to do his running around in the grass that he does, and then he's going to walk up the sidewalks that he knows because he actually knows his way around there. And
One
he
of
runs certain sidewalks he actually runs on, others he sniffs on. The dog knows his way around a university.
and the retention thing stuck in my mind because what I wanted to add, I didn't mean to interrupt you earlier, was that one of the greatest videos, and you've posted these more than once, or it happens more than once, where he goes, I think it's to the vet, and there's a vet tech or there's a nurse, there's somebody who's got treats in her pocket, and he knows exactly where to dig in her pocket.
Well, that is
am I remembering this
pocket
right?
diving. That's going to
Pocket
be an
diving.
Olympic sport for dogs. So Piglet's nose misses nothing.
Right.
And they got started with this there with the treats in the pocket.
Yeah.
So now whenever he meets anybody, if you meet him on the street, he's going to look to see if there's something in your pocket.
So if you're a stranger meeting Piglet for
Yes.
the first time, he's
He will
probably going to dig
commonly-
in your pocket.
Yes, he will try to see if you have food. And if you do, he will go in there and take it. He knows it's for him. So, yeah.
We only have 10 minutes left. This is so sad, but I want to get into the Piglet mindset, which we've been talking about. Somebody asked, have you shared Piglet story directly with students? And of course, the answer is yes. But somebody's saying that Joan, we can answer your question directly here. The high school she works at has a deaf and hard of hearing population, and she thinks they would be interested in learning Piglet's message.
Well, I think they would, but I think all the students would, because it's actually geared towards everybody. Because Piglet's message is about accepting, including, well, I call it acceptance, inclusion, empathy, and kindness. That's what Warren likes to hear me say. I don't even know if he's on this Zoom call because he's not in the house right now. He's away for 2 days. But we started out Piglet mindset is a growth mindset, which Piglet lives every single day. He is optimistic, he is flexible, he's resilient and perseverant, and he draws empathy from others. So that and that program we have Piglet Mindset program is on the website, which is pigletmindset.org. There, I think I already said this some, but there are 5 PowerPoint presentations for the teachers to download and use about, and there's the story of Piglet, the deaf-blind pink puppy, Piglet and the 3 senses, what's so special about Piglet, and also a Piglet mindset. And then I have Piglet's inclusion pack, lesson plans, and Piglet activities. Some of the activities are creating a maze with different textured stickers so the kids can put a blindfold on and follow the maze. And once they know the maze, because they're mapping like Piglet, not with their nose, but with their sense of touch, they actually have it memorized and they don't need to really think about it. And that's to show as an example of how Piglet maps. Well, anyway, those are on there. I have a presentation that I give that isn't on the website, that's has videos and pictures that aren't on any of those PowerPoints that would be shown to the kids. So after the teachers use our materials with their students that they can incorporate into their social emotional learning units, growth mindset units, and then inclusion units and curriculum, we'll make a visit either virtually or in person if we can. So as far as the population in the school, it has been mostly used in elementary schools, but I have done some middle school classes to Girl Scouts and some other groups. The disabled population, I'm really delighted to work with teachers of the deaf teachers of anyone with any disabilities. So your question to that deaf and blind population, yes, I think they would really enjoy learning about him and the way that he's accepted, and he's a very sweet dog. What I found with two young deaf girls that I spoke to a year ago or so is that they were very interested in comparing their experiences to Piglet's. And the one question that they wanted to know, really, the pressing questions was, how do I wake him up? Mm-hmm. And I wake him up with a gentle tap and sort of a pet, and that's how their parents wake them up. So these are things that I think are of interest to anybody. And I hope that teachers will, also there's a school in Vermont, Belkate School, and they have students there that have various cognitive and other disabilities. And they have embraced Piglet mindset with just full force. They had a course this summer, Piglet mindset. They had 6 students in the course. And at the end, I made a virtual visit with Piglet, and we were able to connect. They have an Instagram page. They bake dog biscuits at their school as part of their vocational occupational therapy kind of project. Yeah. And also they love Piglet's mindset, and they sent me and Piglet videos. They posted them on their Instagram page of what Piglet meant to them, what Piglet mindset meant to them. And that was very rewarding for me, of course, but also an example of how it can be used and how valuable it is, because these kids, they enjoyed it, and they also learned from it. And I think, I hope that teachers of all kids will take it this year. Now that we have a book, maybe we'll have even increased exposure for the program. I have a nonprofit that supports the program, and I'm really hoping to expand in all ways so that we can raise funds, improve and expand the program, and have it reach many more schools and kids over this next year or two. And I really am looking eventually to add some ambassador dogs across the country that can go into schools, because Piglet can't be everywhere, where they will also be able to do presentations for kids, showing them tap demonstrations and other appropriate activities with the kids.
That's great. I can't wait for Piglet's first TED Talk. It's gonna happen.
I hope so.
Very important question. This is a good follow-up from McKee Beach. Is Piglet mindset easy to use for special needs kids?
Yeah, that's what I'm just saying. These kids at Belkate School.
But I think this is maybe a younger
kids.
Yeah.
The teacher. Here's the thing about Piglet Mindset program, which is online for everyone to use. The teacher needs to take some responsibility for how they're going to present it to their students. They know their students. They know whether they're disabled or not, special needs, learning disabilities, whatever it is. And they need to adapt to those kids, what I have. And then I am also willing to come in with my presentation and adapt to whatever they want to do. So it's been done. I've been doing this for 4 years now, and it is very successful. It is very effective, and it's really a lot of fun. And the kids are engaged wherever they are, whether they're disabled with physical disabilities or emotional, or being deaf and blind, cognitive issues, wherever it is. They see a little tiny dog who can't see and hear, and they understand as well as they can, and we move from there. So it's a versatile program, and I really hope to expand it also with educational advisors, teachers that have these experiences, which, by the way, I already have, because a lot of the teachers that use the program communicate with me, and I hear what they're doing, and they tell me how amazing this has worked for their kids, and this is what they've done. So I can also put teachers in touch with other teachers if they're interested to hear what their experiences are.
We've put the Piglet Mindset link on the chat. And last question, because I know Lucy's coming on to say goodbye, but very important, will there be a plush piglet made? Inquiring minds need to know this, myself included.
I have no idea, but yes, I think it would be a good idea. We're sort of waiting for that movie deal so that we can make a dog with the movie. But when the kids' book comes out, I think this book is out now, and we need to just kind of get it settled hopefully in a continually productive way. And the kids' book is going to come out, and I think we probably do need to look into a little stuffed piglet to go with it. So it's a good point. I'm going to write it down.
The piglet and the TED Talk. That's what the people want, Melissa.
Okay, well, call Ted and let them know.
It's been an honor hanging out with you guys for this hour.
Oh,
and
thanks so much. It's been a lot
Lucy,
of fun.
Thank you for organizing this as well.
Yes,
thank you everyone for coming, and a big thank you to Books on the Common for co-sponsoring this program. Dan, you are an expert moderator. Yes. You must do this for a living. You're wonderful and charming, and thank you so much, Dr. Shapiro.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. I really want to thank Darwin and Ellen, because they are longtime family friends, and they embraced our book Piglet in their store. We went to visit, and there it was, right out in the center. And that was one of the most exciting experiences for Warren and me, to go there and be able to see our book front and center in a bookstore, at a very nice, really, really beautiful bookstore at that. Piglet came, yes. We signed books. And so if anyone is interested in buying a signed book, they have it there and they will ship. So it's Books on the Common in Ridgefield, Connecticut.
And we have another program coming up with them, which is author Jeff Benedict, who's written The Dynasty about the Patriots and their amazing turnaround. He's going to be talking with an old friend, our first selectman, Rudy Marconi. So that's a Ridgefield. That will be on, I didn't write the date down. The 23rd of September.
Great.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Oh, Piglet, you are so
Piglet,
sweet.
He's so shiny. I don't know why it won't focus on him. Let me.
I don't think he looks too shiny. He looks lovely.
Doesn't look shiny. He's not in focus. Oh, there. Okay, there he is.
Sleepy.
That's a little better. Oh, wait, I turned it off. Hold on. Okay.
Oh, that looked good when you turned it off. You could really see his face.
Oh, but it was dark. Yeah, here, wait. This is good. There he is.
More contrast.
There's my little boy.
Oh.
Well, thanks to everybody for coming. And thank you also for an amazing book launch week. And we really have enjoyed ourselves. And now it's time to settle into figuring out how we're really going to sell our book. So stay tuned, because we're going to have other events. And they're all going to be posted on our website, well, pigletmindset.org, and then we have pigletthedog.com also. So yeah,
all right.
But thank you so much.
Thank you, and I'm ordering a t-shirt now. Goodbye.
Oh, good. Take care. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you. Bye, Piglet.
Okay.
Bye, Piglet.
There we go.